Hey everyone, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a recap of the Collab story, but since it's relatively short, why not? Just in case, the story references some elements that go up to Shaper's Ripple, but it doesn't really spoil anything about PGR main story. Anyway, let's get into it. In the past, Thomas Hell had been a researcher of the Science Council. He had been studying space and time in the attempt to develop a device for faster-than-light travel, but his research had been unsuccessful. He had left the Science Council after the death of his wife, killed by a disease that would have been curable with today's medical advancements. Thomas' research had been related to an old project that Dominic had abandoned during the Golden Age, and after retrieving a shard from the Babel Tower, Thomas had resumed his experiments in a secluded laboratory, attempting to bring his wife back to life by interfering with space and time. The experiment had been a failure, but Thomas ends up opening a rift to another world. In the following weeks, many conservation areas are attacked by unusual other creatures. They seem to be controlled by someone, similarly to how Cradle is able to assert her will over them. Grey Raven is sent on the surface to help the civilians and investigate the situation. While fending off an assault from these creatures, a man appears out of nowhere to help them. He says that his name is Dante. He doesn't belong to this world, and he doesn't know how he ended up here, but these creatures remind him of demons. He explains that his world is divided between the human and the demon world, and despite being a half demon himself, he is a devil hunter, someone that hunts down demons whenever they slip out of the demon world. We don't know how to take this information, but we have seen many crazy things in the past, and considering that he is helping us, we have no reason to mistrust him. After reporting this discovery to Babylonia, we learn that Dante has been protecting the town of New Oakley in the past weeks, a place that is also very familiar to us. However, after showing some footage of an attack at the conservation area, Dante seems to recognize the attacker. It was Vergil, his brother. Upon hearing this, both Lee and Lucia tense up, but Dante says that if Vergil was truly behind all this, he will deal with him himself. Sensing a disturbance within the Ascension network, Luna sent Alpha to investigate. After learning that a mysterious man had been attacking some conservation areas, Alpha tried to locate him, and eventually finds him in the middle of a ruined city. Unaware of how he ended up in such a place, Vergil is attacked by Alpha. During their confrontation, they're both attacked by strange other creatures. After killing them, Alpha starts to realize that despite his power, Vergil shows no signs of punishing a virus, and that most likely is not the cause of the disturbance within the Ascension network. Alpha apologizes for having attacked him, and after rescuing a girl that they found in the area, they learn that she had information about the current situation. Alpha decides to share this information with us, and upon contacting us, we discover that she was with Vergil. Dante immediately accuses Vergil, but he simply says that he's a fool and that he has no idea about what he's talking about. Lyca, the girl that they had just rescued, explains that she is the daughter of Thomas Hell, and that all this is the result of her father's failed experiment. Lyca says that her father ended up summoning a demon called Mirror Demon, which had gained access to the Ascension network and created these new Ether creatures using the Red Tide. Her father had helped her escape, hoping that she could deliver his recording to Babylonia in order to fix the situation. Through the recording, we learned about Thomas' research, and that after his failed experiment, the Mirror Demon had taken over his body, so he had only brief moments of clarity. The demon had used the punishing virus to create a tower around his laboratory, which he had named the Babel Tower. We start to realize that even Dante and Vergil have been brought to our world by the rift created by Thomas, and that this Mirror Demon have replicated Vergil's identity to attack the conservation areas. Dante and Vergil agree to help us deal with the situation, as long as we can help them return to their original world. We send the recording to Azimuth, and eventually, Vergil and Alpha join us in New Oakley, bringing Lyca with them. During our brief stay in New Oakley, we ask Dante what he thinks about our world. He believes that it's doomed, but people are still fighting for it, and we have pizza, so it could be much worse. Eventually, New Oakley is attacked by hordes of other creatures, but after repelling them, Bridget and the support force bring in more reinforcements to defend the town, allowing Grey Raven, Alpha and the Sparta brothers to leave New Oakley and go to the Babel Tower, following the coordinates left by Thomas. Vergil says that the portals that he can open with Yamato are unstable, so not even him can move as freely as he normally would. As they get closer to the Babel Tower, the Mirror Demon recognizes the two Sparta brothers. It used to be just a nameless demon, but after connecting to the Ascension network, it acquired a lot more power, so he doesn't fear them anymore. Dante feels that someone is on top of the tower, and after turning his composite armaments into a sniper rifle, Lee confirms it. After seeing Lee's weapon, Dante tells him that he also has a devil arm that can turn into 666 different modes, but Vergil just tells him to shut up. As they approach the tower, waves of other creatures are sent against them, and the two brothers transform into their devil sin triggers to deal with them, clearing up a path. Upon investigating the tower, we find people that have been kidnapped from various conservation areas. They say that Thomas had been using them for his experiments, and that he had been using even his own blood to breed other creatures from the Red Tide. We tell Grey Raven to escort them to safety, while we push forward with Alpha, Dante and Vergil. After all, since this demon is connected to the Ascension Network, Alpha can help us from that front, while Dante and Vergil have more experience with demons than anyone else. After her initial hesitation, Lucia decides to trust Alpha and leaves us in her care. In the meantime, a new horde of other creatures had been sent to attack New Oakley. For some reason, their objective was to capture Lyca, Thomas' daughter, but eventually, Dark Ares and Igorite are also sent to protect the town, helping Bridget and the support force. During the battle, Lyca had emitted a strange white light, freezing many other creatures in place, as if she had some sort of mysterious power. Initially, Lyca herself didn't know how she had done such a thing, but eventually she starts to realize that some of her past memories were missing. After the battle, Vanessa had confronted her and revealed what Asimov had discovered about Thomas. His daughter had also died many years ago, killed by the same disease that had killed his wife. Upon hearing all this, Lyca finally remembers what had happened. When Thomas' experiment had failed, an explosion had almost destroyed his entire lab, and a demon had emerged from the fractured space. It had been gravely injured, but before its form could dissipate, he had planted a mirror that had slid from its body into Thomas, the only human nearby. However, the mirror split in two after touching Thomas, and since he was also in critical condition, the last thought of his fading mind had been his daughter, and the other half of the mirror had assumed her form. Lyca says that she is also a demon. The mirror demon consciousness had taken over her father's body, but as long as she also existed, he could not be eliminated. Lyca needed to return to the Babel Tower. In the tower, we eventually reach the floor that contains Thomas' laboratory. It seems like the lab had been modified by the demon, and since it can contain data that can help the two brothers return to their world, we try to recover as much data as possible. Alpha stays behind to protect us, while Dante and Vergil continue forward on their own, clearing the path ahead. While waiting for us, Dante asks Vergil about Nero's mom, curious about the woman that won his heart, but when Vergil mentions the women around Dante, he takes back his question. After we finish collecting the data, we join them with Alpha, and together we proceed to the last floor of the tower. Thomas had been waiting for us, and the demon within him taunts the two brothers. He mentions Vergil's defeat by the demon emperor Mundus, and the fact that Dante had been cowering in the human world after the fire, playing house with his precious humans. This pisses them off, but the demon sends the mirrored Vergil against them.
Not bad at all.
Lucia says that Bridget is bringing Lyca into the tower and that she is also a demon, connected to the mirror demon. Since Thomas had been possessed, we ask the two brothers if there is a way to eliminate the demon without killing Thomas. Vergil says that Yamato holds the power to sever man from demon, so will attempt to do so. During their final confrontation, the mirror demon is cut to pieces by their combined efforts, but since it's connected to the Ascension Network, it keeps regenerating using the punishing virus. Eventually, Lyca reaches us atop the tower and approaches her father while his body is still regenerating. Despite being controlled by a demon, a part of Thomas was still aware of what was happening. Lyca tells him that she experienced the war just like he had asked her. She met a cool lady and a man that doesn't talk much. She met Bridget and many other people in New Auckland. However, it's time for her to rejoin her mother. Despite Thomas' grief, he let go of his obsession, and Lyca eventually disappears, leaving behind half of the broken mirror. Without Lyca, the mirror demon is severely weakened, and upon noticing the other half of the mirror protruding from its ravaged body, everyone attacks the spot at the same time, yelling jackpot. The mirror shatters, and the demon dissolves into nothingness, quickly followed by all the other creatures that were still attacking the town of New Auckland. As Thomas stares blankly at the empty ground, Alpha says that it seems like even devils may cry, and Dante replies that anything with a heart may cry. In the following weeks, the Science Council analyzed the data retrieved from Thomas' laboratory, attempting to find a way to send Dante and Vergil back to their original world. The two brothers spend their time in Babylonia, trying to avoid the researchers that seem very interested in running tests and experiments with them. During their stay, they decide to spar with each other in a simulation training field, and the two brothers end up destroying the entire facility. We had to file many reports about that, but eventually Asimov managed to recreate Thomas' laboratory using the data we retrieved from the tower. Since the original lab had been destroyed during the experiment, the data had been incomplete, but the environment is enough to allow Vergil to open a stable portal with Yamato. Dante says goodbye to all of us, and before following, Vergil says to tell Alpha that he has left. Once the rift closes, we wonder if we'll ever meet them again. Despite being a short, simple story, I believe it did a good job in showing both DMC and PGR main cast, allowing them to interact in a believable way despite having different backgrounds. As someone who doesn't know almost anything about DMC, it seemed like both Dante and Vergil's personalities were well portrayed, especially since there are many little interactions between them and the PGR characters that I can fully mention in a recap. The story is also presented in a way in which it could theoretically be considered canon, but at the same time it doesn't have to be, so anyone can have whatever headcanon they prefer. Maybe we decided to reset the timeline because Dante said that the war was doomed. Anyway, as usual, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.